But if you want to recruit foreigners, we have to go through it. But if you don't want to recruit foreigners, then, thank you for joining the call today. See you the next time. So it's an option for us, right? So the concerns and lapses in the current recruitment approach. Number one, as I mentioned, quite in detail just now, there is inadequacy of due diligence done before appointing recruitment agents. Now, if we just merely read through their licenses and we consider that, okay, I've done the due diligence, that is insufficient today. Having licenses issued by the government is no guarantee. It is not a guarantee that the agencies will not recruit and collect money from workers. Number two, engagement of middlemen, sub-agents, or other individuals along the recruitment chain puts workers at risk throughout the recruitment process. Number three, parties involved in the process are not well trained on prevention of what kind of situation brings about forced labor. What are the workers' rights? So they were not well trained. Now, I know, in a layman term, how do we train crooks, to do things right? Now, I'm sure some of you may be having this question. In fact, before I got involved in all this topic, I also had this question. Now, these agents are the ones that has been committing this. Trying to tell these agents not to do this, this is wrong, this is the right way to do, this is something we got to avoid. Would they listen to us? Because end of the day, it's money. Would they listen to us? Now, that is why we need to go back to the due diligence process. Workers are not given accurate details on employment offered, who are the future employer, what are the terms of employment, and other necessary information. This is not given in many cases. Fifth, there is an absence, or there is no third-party monitoring. So this is one of the key elements of an ethical recruitment framework. It is not a must that you must have it, but these are all best practices that would allow us to eliminate, to do early intervention if something crops up. Appointing a third-party monitoring agency or third-party monitoring partners, because we are not there all the time. When a company issues a job order to a particular agent, the agent will start doing, they will advertise, they will collect, they will speak to all their sub-agents, they will put up recruitment advertisement and whatnot, etc. And in some cases, the company rep goes over merely to do briefing to the group of workers who are either shortlisted or going to be shortlisted, and they may do the interview and then they fly back home. So most of the time, the workers are left with agencies. Now, what may be required is a third-party agency or third-party monitoring parties to be there to monitor the entire process. That means we leave them, we do not leave the workers alone, even for a moment, for example. But that does not mean that you got to stay with them, sleep with them, no. But at least you monitor the process at all the key intervals. Somebody is there doing this job for you. It's like you employing a private investigator on site to make sure the agent is not doing it wrong, or the agent is doing it right. So absence or weak grievance reporting mechanism and grievance management mechanism for workers to raise concerns. Now, we know that in case there are cases where workers are threatened. If you spill the bin, I know where your mother is, I know where your family is, I know where your sister lives, etc. And you watch out. So workers are fearful. So they do not voice out. So that is why when we perform the pre-departure survey, I see Dennis' face here. Hi, Dennis. So Dennis, did you pay a recruitment fee? No, I did not pay, because the worker is so fearful of retaliation, or he's so fearful that the agent will go after his family. So if the agent threatens the worker will only give the politically correct answer. The answer that we want is, no, I did not pay anything. Were you harassed? No. Were you coached? No. Were you cursed? No. So the worker will tell you, everything is no. Did you pay money? No. Now, so that has got to, be looked into. How do we do that? That is why the ethical recruitment framework is the way to go. So last but not least, the absence of risk assessment mechanism to ensure the management of recruitment process is strong and workers are protected. So what are the activities that we are employing to recruit these workers? What are the potential risks, and how do we mitigate this risk? What are the mechanisms that we need to put in place? So all these are required in our ethical recruitment process. So let me pick up a few questions before I go on further. Hang on, give me a second. Let me widen this. Okay, so I think we need to agree. Let me see. Okay, so Nia says, how can we work together to counter syndicates in home country to reduce this problem? So Nia, this presentation is to find a solution to your question. So later part, I'll share with you more. The highest I've witnessed, according to Sapun, Niga Muni Control Union, the highest I've witnessed is a worker paying up to 30,000 ringgit. I think it's probably Bangladesh. I'm not surprised as well, because I've had a case where the worker paid 25,000. So 30,000 is something new to me. So I'll take note of this. So 30,000 ringgit has been paid. Employers, according to Alex, employers use intermediary for permit renewal and charge to employers. It includes recruitment through the recalibration process. Yes, I know that. Yeah. So the recalibration process is another activity that we have in Malaysia. Employers need to pay the entire fees, and I know of employers who recruited workers. They paid the fee that is required by the government, the levy, the fines, and the thumbprint deposits, whatnot, etc. And I can tell you, there's also one particular employer who recruited workers through recalibration exercise, who actually paid off even the remediation fee. These workers were not recruited by them; was recruited by another company. The workers were recruited through the the recalibration exercise. And this particular employer, I would say that they are quite. It's quite noteworthy of them to do so. They voluntarily paid off the the recruitment fee paid by these workers in the past, not due to them, so that the workers, when they arrive, they are at peace. So that's a good practice, by the way. Okay, so Kai Siang says that I think we need to agree what is the definition of recruitment fees. Would undocumented monies paid, bribes, illicit money extorted to syndicates, etc., are considered recruitment fees? How could a company reimburse such illegal payments made at a village level? So Kai Siang, that is why we are having this discussion today. In fact, I think if you Google up definition of recruitment fees, there are tons of materials out there by ILO, by RBA, by IOM, by Verite, by Elevate, and so many. What is considered, what is defined as recruitment fee? So that the definition has been out there clear. But the thing is this: if a worker is forced to pay these fees, and as a condition to secure a job in Malaysia, now that from the worker's viewpoint, it's a fee that I paid to secure a job in Malaysia. It's a recruitment fee, right? Now, of course, these are all undocumented fee that has been collected all along the way from the time he heard about the news of a job that is available in Malaysia until he arrives in Malaysia. So that is why when we recruit workers, we are the ultimate party that is responsible to ensure this does not happen moving forward. In the case of plantation workers, workers are paid by piece rates instead of wages described at the time of requirement. What is your comment? Now, if the workers are paid piece rate, so be it. I mean, you see that our employment law allows workers to be paid on a monthly wage, on a weekly, daily, piece rate, or even task-based. Many of you may not be aware there's also a task-based wage payment. Now, if an employee is paid piece rate, do we really understand the piece rate mechanism? I know, cases of employers, who applies piece rate mechanism, but the understanding of piece rate mechanism, it's very shallow. Do we apply a single rate across board and consider as piece rate? What, again, Employment Act, even though they allow different types of wages to be paid to the workers, but whether the employee is a piece-rated employee or monthly, wage employee or weekly, etc., they are all entitled to annual leave. They are all entitled to 11 days of public holiday. They are entitled to 14 days of medical leave or 60 days of hospitalization leave, including the 14 days of medical leave. They are entitled to rest day. They are entitled to, OT premium or, a premium rate when they work on OT. So, for example, in the case of this plantation worker, for example, every ton of, the palm oil collected, they are paid, let's say, I don't know, 10 ringgit per metric ton, for example. Now, if he collects 1 metric ton of this fruit during his rest day, the rate is higher. So, for example, if the employee collects 1 metric ton of fruit on a normal hours, he's paid, let's say, 10 ringgit. Now, when he collects this fruit on his rest day, he is to be paid 20 ringgit per metric ton, not 10 ringgit. So this is how a piece rate mechanism works. Now, if he says that, boss, today I want to take annual leave, he has got to be paid the minimum 56 ringgit plus per day. 1,002 divided by 26. That rate has got to be paid. If he's unable to work, he's got an MC from a registered doctor. His MC has got to be paid. He's not working, but he's got to be paid the daily rate. Now, if he works on a public holiday, he's got to be paid the ×2 and ×3. So we must have a good understanding of how a piece rate mechanism works. So employers pay model, zero recruitment fee is possible if only employer recruitment agencies source country in the source country and candidates are aware. So Milan, thanks for highlighting this, because this is what exactly we are going to cover this about educating every single party in the recruitment process. Even the workers need to be educated on their rights, on what they should do, what they shouldn't do. The agencies has got to be educated. If sub-agencies are being used, they got to be educated. Your HR department need to be educated. Your finance need to be educated. Your purchasing need to be educated. So every party, involved in the recruitment process has got to be educated, and we'll cover this quite deeply later on. Nia says that shouldn't there be a multi-pronged approach to target the syndicate problem? Not actually realistic to clean up the problem just in Malaysia. What about other countryside? Doesn't Bangladesh go to Middle East too? But agree that Malaysia governance with low level. Okay, maybe later part in the Q&A, perhaps we could get further inputs and thoughts from other participants on the call. I believe there are also many experienced practitioners in the call today. Now, that is why the need to do proper, thorough, stringent, rigorous tender process. We need to, flag out we need to flag out potential agents that are troublemakers. So how do we do that? We really need to, carry out proper process. So I'll cover that as well later. Alex says that plantation sectors and construction subcontracting business model piecemeal by productivity is applied in FELDA, has rampant abuses in wage payment, etc. Human resource. So again, Alex, thanks for highlighting this. If the piece rate mechanism is used, we must have good understanding of how a piece rate mechanism works. In fact, I would say that in my personal understanding, piece rate mechanism, it's much more favorable. That means the workers are able to earn more, using a piece rate mechanism than a monthly wage mechanism. At least in the context of 2-3 companies that I have, spoken to, when we calculate this, because piece rate mechanism allows worker to earn more if they do more. So, for example, I just give you a very simple example. In fact, those of you who are members of the Malaysia HR Forum, there is a document prepared by the forum on what is piece rate mechanism, how the piece rate mechanism works. There is also a simple piece rate mechanism calculator available for you all. Do join the forum, and you can take this also in the social compliance network. So let me give you an example. A piece rate mechanism, if you follow proper formulas, let's say every ton of fruits that was picked by the workers paid 10 ringgit. Now, if the worker works super hard, he's very productive, he works very hard, etc. What a normal employee may pick 10 tons for the 8 hours, but this particular employee is able to pick 12. He actually earns more. So basically, a piece rate mechanism allows worker, you do more, you get paid more. That's what a piece rate mechanism, that's how it works. So it allows employee, compared to 1,000 ringgit, 1,200 ringgit and the OT, that is flat. So whether I do more, I do less, I still get paid. So piece rate mechanism, in fact, if you ask me personally, is a good model, but it has got to be administered correctly so that the workers are not shortchanged. Okay, Robert says, from your presentation, the HR department are deemed ignorance or denied to know. Well, you see, Robert, I'm not generalizing all, but the reason why we have cases today, why are we in a situation where there are companies, being put sanction on, where there are companies being scrutinized, where workers are highlighting these issues, papers are reporting them. Why are this happening? All of these companies do have the HR department. So I think this is a question that probably you want to fill in the blanks. Why is this happening? Okay, yeah. So let me go back to the slides. Then I'll come back to the Q&A later, these questions later. So, so I'm going to share with you 7 elements to consider in setting up an ethical recruitment framework. Now, again, these are suggested elements. You may even want to put more in. That's good if you think there's, there's further improvements that can be made, or if you think that this is not necessary, or there's another way to simplify it, etc. Again, no one is going to force you to do it this way, but these are suggested approaches. Number 1, the tender process. Tender process must be carried out. Now, tender process should not be merely to review their licenses. For example, we put out tender process, 10 companies apply, we review their license, etc. And then we said, okay, these are the good agents, so we'll take them. Tender process should not stop or should not be limited to just reviewing their licenses, where their business location is, the office photo, they'll send you a photo of their office. Some office could be nicely done up. They may show you that this is our team of people, this is the bus that we recruit, transport workers, this is a photo of our recruitment exercises, these are some videos, and we get all too excited. Wow, these guys are good. I think they are, they are better than others. Now, it should not just limit to that. Now, many of these can be cooked up. No company out there will put lousy photos, to promote their services. Everybody will put good photos, good evidences, etc. But we need to verify them. Just like, when we interview workers, I just go back to a very simple context. Now, many of us could be HR practitioners here. When we interview workers or, candidates, they will give us a copy of their resume, right? And in this resume, they will tell us things that they want to tell us. They will not tell us things that they don't want to tell us, right? They will not put in the resume, I was asked to leave this company because, I could not perform my job. They will not tell you that. They'll only tell you things that you need to know. They will not tell you things that they don't want to tell you, right? But as an interviewer, we need to adopt, there are terminologies like behavioral interview. We need to get the truth out of them. So we also need to get the truth out of these agencies by establishing and setting up a rigorous tender process. So advertise the tender widely to reach out to potential agents, not just getting our ex-agents, hey, I'm running this thing, please join us. No, there could be good agents out there. Similarly, when we look at candidates, there are active candidates who respond to your job advertisement. When you put up a job, when you put a job advertisement out of jobs rate, easily 100, 200 guys will apply. But in most cases, we are more excited about passive candidates out there who are not applying for this job. So there could also be passive agencies. And some of these passive agencies are agencies who are not so greedy for profit, for example. So we need to reach out to, wider parties, advertise it as widely as possible via social media, newspaper advertisement, or other channels, and get these agents to perform a self-assessment questionnaire. These are the questionnaire, and get them to do more like a self-check. Do you have this? This will be helpful when you evaluate them later. Perform thorough due diligence to filter out unethical agents before a tender is awarded. The moment you award a tender, it may be a little bit too late. So we got to really, we got to be really, 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 really sure these are the guys, these are the agents that will help us to recruit workers following the process that we set out for. So ensure the assessment and due diligence is able to identify potential risk of engaging certain agents. Watch out for red flags, perform adequate background checks. Okay, so, I just quote from, these two newspaper reports. Open and transparent tendering of recruitment contracts by Malaysian companies to ensure they work the best and most ethical recruiters are available in the market. So this is by Andy Hall. Anyway, he's in the call today. He's a migrant workers' rights specialist. So the article also says that this open tender idea recommended by him is a way to wipe out the slate clean on the legacy of abuse between companies and employees, destination and source country agents, due to a legacy of kickbacks and corruption. So this was published in Focus Malaysia paper. And in the businesshumanrights.org, employers must be required to open procurement tenders and consider transparent and realistic quotations from responsible recruitment agencies, right? So responsible recruitment should be measurable and enforced contractually between buyers and their suppliers. So this is why the tender process cannot be something that we do in a quick glance. We have to spend, in my view, companies would need to spend quite a bit of time to execute a thorough tender process. Now, there are, in fact, at the end of this slide, there are many links. In fact, there are tons of available resources. So one of them is, a document by Ray Juridini, when I'm sorry, he or she, but it was on transnational culture of corruption and migrant labor recruitment by International Organization for Migration, IOM. So, good to read all this to see how it happens. Now, in order for companies to design this, it's good to know what are the areas that we need to cover, because our knowledge is quite limited. We are more accustomed to the old way of doing things. The new way of doing things is something new, and in order for us not to be left out, or in order for us not to forgo certain critical processes, it's good to do quite a bit of research, or if you can afford, engage some of the people out there who could help you to develop one. But there are also materials available if you want to do a self-study, you want to self-develop your own, etc. What is really important is all the nitty-gritty things that we tend to overlook must be addressed. So so this is a sample of an ongoing tender process of foreign workers recruitment by SIMW. So one is in Bahasa Indonesia. I think they're recruiting Indonesian workers. And one, this is especially Indonesia. So it's in English and in Bahasa, published by SIMW. So open tender for migrant worker recruitment. So this is an example of ongoing tender shared with us. So recently the forum interviewed Andy just to get his perspective on the ethical tender processes or ethical recruitment processes, and actually he shared with us. I think Andy is advising SIMW and 1-2 other companies. So this is an example of an ongoing exercise of how we need to reach out to as many parties as possible to participate in the tender process. So yeah, let me move on. So this is another sample. This is a CPG group in Thailand. So they do also brief all the potential tenders. Now, so HR, if you are listening in today, or if any of your procurement team is listening in today, the same method we procure our local suppliers. Because if you talk to the procurement or purchasing or supply chain in some companies, they call it. Now, when we tender out our material purchases, there is a process that that this tender goes through. There's a technical evaluation, there's a commercial evaluation, etc. Why are we not doing something similar for this recruitment of foreign workers, the agency? Sorry. So here we need to do even more than what we're doing for the normal tendering process. So so I've just shared one, and these are the rest. Appointment of agents, review the use of sub-agents and limit them. If possible, avoid them. So I know it cannot be limited because countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, they are like Bangladesh, they're big. India is big. Indonesia is super huge. Sometimes the agents may not have the reach to go to villages, etc. So now I'm not saying that avoid them, but if you can limit them. So instead of using 10 sub-agents, probably 1 or 2. The lesser the supply chain is, the better control we have. And right, so if let's say you have got 10 layers of agencies, sometimes we just cannot reach all the 10. So if let's say we have 2, we can better influence them. So appoint an agent that can complete the recruitment exercise without the use of sub-agents, or if you can't, limit them. To do so, the appointment agents should be kept to a minimum, if possible, depending on the number of workers required. Now, it is also suggested, so this is an input from one of the companies that we interviewed. It is also suggested to avoid breaking the quota to small numbers. So for example, company A wants to recruit 1,000 workers. Let's say 1,000 workers from Nepal, for example. What they do is they will dish out, batches of quota, 50 each to 20 companies. Why? Because they just want to make it fast. If I give one agency 200, they will, they'll probably take a long time, or maybe we are fearful that they may not have the reach. So we break up into 50 and so on. Now, look at it from the viewpoint of the agencies. We're only giving them 50. Everybody wants to maximize their profit. So now, again, I'm not proposing that, you need to break up into 200, 100. But what I'm trying to say is, do look into this practice of breaking the quota into too small a number, just because we want to speed up recruitment process, right? In Bahasa Malaysia, we say, biar lambat asal selamat, right? The next one is third-party monitoring. Appoint a third-party, independent third-party monitoring to monitor the recruitment process. That means they are on site. Throughout the process, they are on site. You see, now, I'm sure you know Toyota, right? Their motto is, you build to last. Now, if we were to do the right steps during this initial recruitment process, and whatever that we envision for happens, meaning that no recruitment fees paid, workers are treated well, they are not threatened, nobody collects money, under table, off table. What happens typically, workers, HR is present in room A, where they brief them on all this, etc. Once the worker moves to room B, money is collected, and they're threatened. You better don't tell. If you tell, I'll go to your house, I'll threaten your family, and so on. So now, having a third-party monitoring to monitor the entire process, until the worker arrives in Malaysia, in my view, gives us a bit of peace of mind, because we know that we have a third party there. We have another additional pair of eyes monitoring the whole process. Some of your ex-workers, your ex-foreign workers who are back there, could be an option as well. You can always gather them, saying that, okay, we're going to do this recruitment process. Can you help us pay them a bit of money, etc., to monitor this? Or probably send back some of your existing foreign workers, be there on site, because send them to where they come from. Tell them that I would like you to monitor the process. We're going to pay you a salary. You can go home and sleep, stay, etc. But monitor this process for us. Let us know if things are not working well, etc. So ensure the third party is well trained, so that you cannot just appoint somebody and send them there. They need to be well trained. What are the do's and don'ts? What to look out for? What is forced labor all about? How things go wrong? What what the agencies are potential to do, and so on and so forth. Identify red flags, highlight to the company, so that we can take action as early as possible. Sending your own HR personnel to monitor the recruitment process until worker arrives is also another option. It also helps to boost compliance throughout the recruitment process. The problem in the past is we have left the agents to do work on their own without us being there, without us monitoring them, without anybody monitoring them. So we do not know. All we know is we give them a call, or we send them an email. I want X number of workers. They do all the job. Some companies don't even go to source country. At least there are some organizations who go there to meet the workers, to to do their induction and so on. There are companies who don't even make a trip. All they know is workers arrive in airport, they are picked by the local Malaysian agent, and they are brought here. So a third-party monitoring mechanism is strongly encouraged. Next would be risk assessment. Ensure relevant policies are updated and relevant to reflect the importance of ethical recruitment. Identify root causes and factors that heightens the risk of forced labor. Identify and manage risk to ensure zero lapses. Communicate risk to stakeholders, including the workers. Tell the workers, if this happens, this is a consequence. What is your role? How do you, what are the measures for you to raise these issues, and so on? And ensure adequate measures are in place to eliminate or to minimize this risk. Now, appointment agents again. Okay, sorry, I repeated this. Yeah. So, and also get the agencies to, develop their own agency policy. So just as what we have developed for our own, get them to develop. Now, some of you all may think that this is just a paper-based exercise. Having this paper exercise is no guarantee that they will follow. Now, that's true to some extent. It's true. But, if we were to make them prepare this, if we were to make them understand this, read this, make this as their Bible, it indirectly will start conditioning their mindset that this is the right way to do. So just like, when we take pledges, anti-corruption pledges, we may think that it's just an exercise. I just, take the pledge and that's it. But if you do it repeatedly, it acts as a reminder, constantly reminding us the do's and don'ts, what is right, what is wrong, etc. So, it is good and it is necessary to get the agencies that we appoint to develop their policies so that this can be cascaded to their agents and employees. Okay, so this, I mean, we also got it from the interview we did recently with Andy Hall. So he actually shared this, how to develop these processes and policies to guide these agents. Okay, next would be the grievance reporting mechanism. So establish a grievance reporting mechanism. So again, this is something that is new, is not in the past. Most organizations, we do have grievance reporting mechanism in Malaysia for active employees to raise issues. But we need to put in place a grievance reporting mechanism right from the time they start work. So I know of good examples where there is available reporting mechanism from the time they're recruited. So when the workers are interviewed for the very first time, they are given out handout cards with the reporting channel saying that if anybody asks you for any fee, or if anybody threatens you or harasses you, etc., this is the number to call, or this is the channel to raise. It is given to them right upon the completion of the interview. So for example, if let's say Ahmad Ali Mia, the guy that we discussed just now, if Ali Mia, he stays in a particular village in Bangladesh, he heard about a recruitment process by company A. He came to the recruitment center and he was briefed, given the pamphlet, what are the job and all that. And at the end of the session, he was given these cards, to say that we believe in zero cost recruitment. We do not allow you to pay any fee to anyone, and we do not allow anyone to collect any fee from you. And if something happens similar, in this context, this is the channel to report to. So they know their rights. So they know that this is something that I shouldn't be doing, right? So this is again to address some of the questions raised by some of our members today. How do we do that? So these mechanisms like this may sound very trivial. So what if I give this card out? But look at the impact. Look at the benefits of it. The workers know where to raise. Today, the workers do not know. When somebody threatens them, they thought this is the normal way to do it. This is how things are done. But when they know that you shouldn't be paying from this point onwards. Now, Ali Mia may have traveled from his home in a particular village to the recruitment center at his own cost. That is his own cost. But from this point onwards, no fee shall be paid by you. You should not pay anyone, and no one should collect fee from you. All fees are paid by this company. Let's say company A, Sdn Bhd, they are recruiting workers for their factory, and they will pay all the costs, not you, not your family, not your neighbors, etc. And if anyone comes to you, anyone demands money from you, you please raise, a complaint through this channel. And internal engagement. So yeah, so let me move on to the next. And internal engagement. Now, recruitment of foreign workers should not be the sole responsibility of human resources alone. I think in some companies, human resources do not have the resources to do all this. Internal stakeholders such as internal audit, who's the best person to draft an audit process, internal audit? Who's the best person in the company to draft out a proper tendering process, procurement or supply chain or purchasing? Who would be the best one to identify risk? It is a business continuity. I mean, some companies do have business continuity division. They could be the one. So leverage on their skills and expertise to develop a comprehensive ethical recruitment framework. So for HR folks, I was also an ex-HR. We don't fight the battle alone. Get all your peers in the company, your internal audit, your procurement, your business continuity, or whatever name you call them. Get them to be part of the team to define the entire process. Right now, this is it's a one-off exercise. Once you have done it, you can repeatedly use it, and of course, you make some fine-tuning, further improvement. You see certain gaps, improve it, etc. But the hard work is the first time. Now, and all these internal stakeholders must be educated in order for internal audit to know what are the areas to audit. In order for business continuity to identify the risk, they must first be educated. What are the potential risks? What are the issues that happened in the past? What are the red flags we need to take note of? So train them, get them involved to draft your process or your framework. And they also should continue to monitor for non-compliance after the recruitment process is over. And so some other suggestions for consideration. I'm almost nearing my slides. I have a couple of FAQ for to share. Now, engage external stakeholders, because there are things that we do not know. right? There are things that we don't know. There are blind spots in this entire process. So reach out to NGOs or labor activists or anybody out there who promotes ethical framework. They may be of great help to design and set up the ethical recruitment framework. As I said, we do not know what we don't know, right? So engaging experienced parties out there to help us to develop would be a good example. Or Sam Dhabi, Top Glove, they've also designed theirs. If you can reach out to them, get some help from them, probably ask them to share the templates, and you can use that as a base to draft yours. Engage your industry association, for example, MAGMA, MPOCC, and many others, because the focus, the limelight is on Malaysia today, right? The glove industry, the palm oil industry, the electronics industry, these are the industries under spotlight. So engage your associations. They could be of help. They could also connect you to relevant parties. Now, the other thing to take note is, 31st December is the deadline for companies to ensure Act 446 compliance is met. Meaning, if you're providing hostel by December 31st, you must be done ready with the certificate of Act 446. Now, always ensure the hostel is ready before the workers arrive. Not after workers arrive, only then we prepare the hostel. In bahasa they say, sediakan payung sebelum hujan, meaning that get the umbrella ready before it rains. So don't scramble for hostel when the workers arrive. Now, as a responsible party, we need to ensure the hostel is ready with all the necessary facilities upon the workers' arrival. Now, we're not asking for a 5-star or 6-star accommodation. Decent accommodation where a human being can live. So, just like when we go for holidays, sometimes I'm quite puzzled. When we go for holidays, we will, do all the research, where to stay, where to go, how much is the ticket to this amusement park, how much is that, where to eat, etc. We'll do a PhD research before we go for holiday, right? Just because why we want to ensure the holiday goes on as planned, no interruption, no surprises, we don't go haywire finding a place to, etc. Now, holiday is a very trivial matter, right? Bringing a foreign worker to work in our company for the next 2 years, I'm very sure why we keep passports, because we want them to stay long with us. Now, how do we make an employee, a foreign worker, how do we encourage them to stay long with us? Is to ensure they're happy with the company. Now, not necessarily we got to use stick all the time. Use carrot. If they're happy with the wages that we pay, they are treated with dignity. They're happy with the hostel. They're happy with work. The bosses are transparent to them. They're able to raise concerns or issues when they have. Issues are resolved, etc. If all these are happening, workers may stay even for more than 2 years, right? So, so if we can go for holiday, when we go for holiday, we do a PhD level research, of our destination. What more, in employment context? Ensure sufficient trained internal human resources available to execute the exercise successfully. Ensure funds are put in place to immediately remediate to the workers if they are found to have paid recruitment fees, not fees, sorry, it's a type of fees. So if they've paid, immediately, do your investigation, immediately remediate, and you don't just stop there. You need to go back to your recruitment process. What went wrong where? How it happened? If the agent has collected money, action has got to be taken. Now, we all know PDCA loop, right? You got to close the loop, not just if a worker is paid, remediate immediately, but also go back and check what went wrong where the lapse happened, who is the party responsible, take action on them. In future, take this guy out, no more, right? So when we do this repeatedly, probably when we do the recruitment for the first time, this ethical recruitment may now happen. We have got good experience when we did the zero cost recruitment framework. We expected all this will fall in place. Am I right? Now, so when we embarked on zero recruitment fee, we expected all this to fall in place. Unfortunately, did not. But that was the first good step. I won't say it's a bad step. It's the first good step. Now, the second step we're going to take today is to improve what we have started and add on all these activities or interventions or initiatives that we have just spoken of, right? And we may not reach perfection, after this. So it takes time. It takes repeated exercises to reach the perfection level. And yeah, so last but not least, initiate legal actions on parties who are involved in unethical process during this recruitment, during the recruitment process, whether it's your agent, whether it's your employees or any parties who exploit or cheat these workers. Provide immediate support and protection to the affected workers who are vulnerable. So if a worker raised a concern, and if you go back to the agency saying that, I heard that one of your candidate was asked to pay. Now, he may know, he may not ask everybody. He may just ask one or two guys. He will know, I only asked this to this particular two guys. And then this issue was raised. Now, he will then target these two workers. So you must have a closed loop grievance mechanism, provide support to them. So you do not want them to be affected, right? So if they raise a concern, there's a high chance these agencies will go after them. Just like, when somebody says that, hey, Richard, I was told that you did not do this. I was told that, you did this. Richard's going to ask, who would have told my boss this? He will start digging, finding, etc. So please do not allow this to happen to the workers. Okay, yeah, so best practices to consider. And this was taken from a document by, by Impact, Tackling Modern Day Slavery in PPE Supply Chain, a practical guide for UK public bodies. So I was doing a bit of research and came across it. I thought, it's good to highlight this. So all tenderers and their subcontractors must clearly understand what are the contractual requirements. Before signing a contract, take the time. Don't rush the process. Take the time to talk to each tenderer and or subcontractor, if there is, to make sure the requirements are clear. So in fact, I would say that a better practice is, if, ask the agent, for example, if you appoint Richard as your agent or whoever the agent is, and if this agent says that, you should ask him, are you going to use sub-agents? Who are your sub-agents? I want the list of your sub-agents. Do your sub-agents have the license to recruit? Now, I want to meet each and every one of your sub-agents. That means you put them all in a room, train them on all the process, not just your agent, because if we leave the agent to do, chances are some will do, some will not do. Because for the agent is, if I do it right, I don't care how the other guys do it, because I'll take guarantee. Now, you see, we should not take risk. Don't take chances. Ask the agency how many sub-agents they're going to use and talk to each and every one of them. It's painful, it takes time, but look at the benefit of doing it. Right, next, and I think this is a very good idea as well. When you ask question, aim to understand the reality on the ground rather than the policy alone. And don't trust information at face value. They may say, yeah, we do this, we do that. They show photos, etc. Don't trust information at face value. Look for gaps, look out for omissions, and things that look too good to be true. If it's too good to be true, it must not be true in most cases, right? So look out for things that is too good to be true. And when the tenderers are unable to answer questions convincingly, there could be some red flag there already. Okay, either they don't understand the process, or they are probably not telling you things that they don't want you to hear. And yeah, so identifying the right agent, the right and reliable agent is of paramount importance towards ethical recruitment. Know what to ask, know how to ask, know how to get the truth out of them, right? So developing an SAQ, and the tender criteria well and thoroughly is very important. Train all your authorized responsible person in the company to carry out due diligence. Develop skills to analyze, assess, and select the right agents. Implement robust screening and selection process in appointing agents. So, if you really summarize, what I'm sharing today, you'll notice that I spend quite a bit of time touching on the tender process and selection of agents. Now, if this alone is done, as stringently as possible, I can tell you the subsequent process will become much easier. Because this is where things go wrong. Okay, so before I finish, I've got 3 pages of FAQ, and I was just asking, what are the potential questions that you may have, that you may want to ask? So these are some, so that at least we cover some of the important aspects. So number 1, the ethical recruitment framework, that I've just described, or if you go and do your own research, in fact, many of these documents and articles that I'm going to put the link in the next slide, have a lot of suggestions. It looks very exhaustive, very cumbersome. Is there a way to simplify it and keep it as practically as possible? Now, again, I would like to repeat the the quote from the ex Director General of, I think, U.S. Department of Justice. If you think compliance is expensive, then try non-compliance. Having a simplified mechanism may not provide the necessary safety measures to prevent lapses, which we have seen in the past. Proper check and balance will be necessary to avoid non-complication. Now, see, just imagine, if all this was done through in the past, we will not be going through the issues that we have today. Right? It is very tiring, to go back to the workers, to ask them how much you've paid, to do the remediation, to the current workers, to the workers who have gone back, to contact them, to send money through bank, money got rejected, send them back again, verify this, communicate, etc. If we can turn the clock back, what would we do correctly if we can turn the clock back, right? If we can turn the clock back, what are the things that we will stop doing, or what that we will not do at all? So now that we've learned, I mean, let's move on. No point crying, or what has happened in the past. But from today onwards, do it right. I know many organizations today are so anxious when the government is going to open up their, the quota to recruit. Now I know many are anxious, many are already preparing, etc. But do it correctly so that we don't struggle tomorrow. Whatever we do today affects us tomorrow. Now, I'm unsure how to develop an effective SAQ and how to carry out proper due diligence. Well, one idea is engage third parties. For example, Impact, Elevate, Verite. They've done quite a bit of research, or labor activists who are on the ground with tons of knowledge and experience working on migration, recruitment. Or speak to other companies that is already carrying out similar exercises. Sime Darby, Top Glove is another. The diplomat says that Sime Darby, Top Glove have started it. Talk to them. If you have any contacts, talk to them. Perhaps Savitri or Julia, you might also want to invite representative of Top Glove or Sime Darby to actually share how they have done it, etc. And if they're not, if they're okay, they share the samples so that it makes it easy for some of our colleagues here today to develop theirs. The previous agents appointed by our company are able to source workers required. Can we continue to use them? Because sometimes we have this relationship built with our agents. Sometimes they're too good to us. They may have in bracket taken care of us, etc. Now, can I use them? My advice is to put all of them, whether they're current or potential agents, into the tender and due diligence process. Apply the same criteria and conditions on all bidders. Ability to recruit fast or ability to recruit in the past should not be the sole criteria. That could be one of the criteria, whether they're able to recruit, but that shouldn't be the sole criteria. Today, there are many other criteria that need to be examined. Can they recruit is one of them. Yes, agreed. If end of the day you want the workers. Two is, can they fulfill our social compliance requirements? Are they ethical? Are they, do they have adequate resources? Do they have the reach to reach villages, etc.? Are they going to use sub-agents? Who are their sub-agents? So all this has got to be examined. Is there a suggested number of sub-agents that our appointed agents can use to speed up the recruitment process? Well, again, usage of sub-agents is one of the issues we have faced in the past with regards to payment of, excessive recruitment fee. It is suggested to avoid using them where possible or keep them to a minimum, right? But whoever that the agents are going to use, they must be adequately trained. They must have the capacity to recruit and recruit the ethical way. And they should be able to go down to villages to do direct recruitment where possible. Because I know that most agencies out there, they act like a HQ basis. When we reach out to them, they are in their posh HQ office, and then they will give out, job order to the sub-agents. Okay, all of you all 10, 10, 10 each, etc. And these guys will go get and so on. So now, do we want a HQ-based agent? Your key agent in Nepal, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3, do you want a HQ-based agent? Or you want to appoint agencies who are on the ground? There are thousands of agents, I'm sure, in Nepal, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and so on, Myanmar, and so on. So do we want to go to the HQ agents, or do we want to reach out to agents who are on the ground? So when you can do that, you actually chop off another layer. Do we need to use a Malaysian agent in this ethical recruitment framework? Now, again, it is really up to companies if they wish to use them. However, the agent fee must be paid by the company and not squeezed out from the workers quietly. And challenge corruption if it happens and not to shy away from it. encourage whistleblowing, and solicit discreet feedback from the workers regularly. So the more regular we ask them, the more discreet is, the more confidence we give these whistleblowers, the faster, or shall I say, the better the chances of getting this feedback. So that is why, one practice that I've learned, where once the workers are interviewed for the very first time, they are given the cards to raise concerns, right? So that's good. So in fact, this just come to my mind. Let's say the sub-agent is now, they've gathered a group of, let's say 50 workers. Now you can always send your third-party, a monitoring person there to give out these cards to them, saying that if you have any issues, so there's independence there. So the workers know that there's somebody else, there's a godfather there to take care of me. Okay. Now, is there a guarantee that we will be able to eliminate forced labor by adopting ethical recruitment framework? Now, there are many aspects or factors that lead to forced labor, and the recruitment process is just one of them. Adopting stringent ethical recruitment framework will help to eliminate or reduce the risk of non-compliance during this process. But there are other factors that we need to look into as well. After the workers arrive, the work conditions, there could be also other indicators of forced labor. Now, ethical recruitment takes time. We cannot rush the process. It takes time. Therefore, we should not rush the process simply to meet operational manpower needs. Just because your production manager is, bangs on your door, hey, where is the worker? I need them. I can't produce. We can't sell, etc. We can't pack. We can't deliver. Now, just because of that, we rush the process. Now, if you rush the process, the consequence of that is we're going to struggle much more greater later. So just imagine if a sanction is put on the company, we can't even sell, right? So it takes time. We can't rush it. But if you are able to put more resources in, if you're able to design it well and put all the control mechanism, etc., if you can afford to engage a third-party monitoring agent to look at it, etc., I'm very sure, it may be a little bit more easier to manage it. But if your resources are thin, then it's going to be tough. Okay, my last slide, just bear with me for a while more. I don't think the company can control or influence every area of an aspect in this ethical recruitment journey. How can I go about it? Now, my answer is very simple, short and brief. No doubt, we are not in control of many things, but start with areas that you can control or influence and take it from there. For example, can we influence the agents that we appoint? Yes, because nobody's going to put a gun at your, gunpoint, put you at gunpoint, saying that you got to appoint this particular agent. If not, I'm going to shoot you tomorrow. Now, no. Put them through the tender process, take time to review, evaluate, analyze, scrutinize, assess, do whatever you need to do to find the right agent. So that is within your influence, right? Making sure that the agents declare the sub-agents, that's within your influence. Communicating to them directly, telling them the do's and don'ts with the most strongest tone, that is within your influence. Sending in a third party to do monitoring, that's within influence. Setting up a whistleblowing channel, that's within influence. Setting up a mechanism to monitor, to raise grievance, that's within influence, right? Making sure that your hostel is ready, that's within influence. So I would say that many of these things are within your influence. There could be one or two things that is beyond your control. I agree, but start with what you can control today and keep improvising it, keep strengthening it, keep improving it. One fine day, you will know how you will know the crux of the game. Now, is it advisable to pay agents more than market practice or suggested, in government to government? Sometimes G2G, there's MOUs done. Well, for me personally, I would say this is really a business decision. Now, paying more need not necessarily guarantee agents will comply, right? So it is very important to ensure every aspect of ethical recruitment is paramount, must be observed rigorously and diligently. How do I go about identifying third-party monitoring resources? Now, from my research done, there are such services provided in countries like Nepal, Bangladesh. I'm sure such thing may be available in India and whatnot, etc. So all you need to reach out to them, or talk to your contacts. Your current agencies. Tell them, can you identify if there's any third-party, monitoring agents or whoever that we can use? And as I also suggested just now, you can also set up your own by using your ex-workers. If you're still in contact with some of your ex-workers, they know the lingo, they know how things are done, or even your current workers, maybe send them back for a period of time, tell them, we want you to monitor this process for us, call us immediately if there's a red flag. Now, these workers have gone through this process in the past. They know it. They know how it happens. They know what are the tips and tricks. So, and they could be, and I can tell you the potential workers, they would be more comfortable to speak to people of their, their countrymen, people of their origin. Now, if I were to send, let's say, if we were to send one of our HR person, let's say we send Richard Johnson or Richard Lee to Nepal, there'll be, workers will not warm up to him. Hey, who is this Chinaman coming? And, but when their own countryman is with them, talking to them, we were the ex-workers of company A. I was working there for the last 5 years, and we are recruiting for my ex company. And in fact, these workers could be your ambassadors, right? So this is an idea, that I could share. So don't need to crack your head. If you want to appoint an independent third party, reach out to those third parties who provide these services, or use your current or existing, your ex workers. Okay, last slide. Sorry to keep you that long. Now, is it necessary to have our local staff, for example, the recruitment manager or recruitment exec, to be on the ground while the process is ongoing? Well, all I can say is it helps to have an extra pair of eyes on the ground to monitor the entire process. It also enables the agent or the workers to reach out to you, to this rep, whenever they need help or they need advice or there's some issues. So you have somebody on ground. I would say that the agents will behave properly compared to today. You leave them alone like a hero. So they will probably behave better if you have all these tools there. Your rep is there, your third party monitoring is there, there's a grievance mechanism. Chances of things going wrong would be either zero or probably very minimal, right? So as I said, these are things that is within our influence. Should I confine recruitment to limited or selected countries instead of casting the net wide? Because there are companies, they have got workers from X number of companies. You name it out there. India, yes. Bangladesh, yes. Myanmar, yes. India, yes. Indonesia, yes. Nepal, yes. Cambodia, yes. And so on and so forth. Now, well, this is really a business decision, where to recruit from. But, all I can say is the ethical recruitment process is quite exhaustive, as what we've described. Limiting the source country may be a good idea, but again, really it's your choice. I'm not saying that you must limit. There's no law that says that you can only hire from limited countries. But having limited source country would allow you to optimize your resources and apply greater focus in these countries. Otherwise, you may need to spread thin your resources, and this will then give rise or loopholes to non-compliance. The moment the agent knows that this our big boss from Malaysia is not monitoring us, I think I can take this, nobody, etc. That's where things start to go wrong, right? So this is just an idea, because there was also someone who asked, should I limit this in the past? Should I limit to a few countries? I would say that there are also cases where I've seen cases where the company limit to only two. Bangladesh. Okay, sorry, I don't want to say names. So two countries now, and managing them as well. See, when you have more countries, just imagine you need to translate a policy into multiple languages. You need to have multiple translators and so on. And then your dormitory arrangement is also going to be complex because you need to put different nationality, etc. So you lose flexibility. So maybe limiting them could be an option forward, right? So my closing statement is this. Now, I wouldn't want to say you, including me. If we think compliance is expensive, then try non-compliance. Non-compliance will be much more expensive, right? The days of business as usual and business as always is possibly over now. Otherwise, we will not be having this call today. You'll probably be, preparing to go for lunch shortly. Ethical recruitment does not come to an end once the worker arrives, but it is a continuous journey to ensure workers are free from any form of forced labor arising from poor or unethical recruitment practices. You see, sometimes we have this idea, once the worker arrives in Malaysia, okay, recruitment process done. Agreed. The core recruitment process is done because workers are already here, recruitment is done. But what has happened in the past may affect the future. For example, there was a particular scenario. In fact, I would say this, go back to our zero cost. Many of the listeners today, your organization would have embarked on a zero cost recruitment program in 2019 and onwards. Now, we believe, okay, all done. But after a year, we discover workers paid money. right? So can we say the recruitment process is over? No, it's not over yet. The core part of the recruitment process is over, but the process continues until we are very, very sure the workers actually paid nothing, etc. Now, not just recruitment fee, it is also what was promised to them. Will I promise a flight home, at the end of my contract? Or, this is a big question mark today. If the worker finishes his 3-year contract, a 2-year contract, he decides to renew, he don't want to go back. He decides to renew, but he wants to go back for a holiday. Do we pay the flight ticket? What was promised to him? So, and all these are, you see, whatever commitments made during the recruitment process, has a long-term impact and long-term effect on the employee, on the worker, right? Okay, so I'm done for now. And just before I take on a quick question answer, so these are the two groups I've mentioned just now, Malaysia HR Forum. These are free, it's free, it's open to anyone. So join us in the Malaysia HR Forum. We have got about 13,000 HR practitioners. We discuss all kinds of topics. There are a lot of templates, forms, policies, guidelines shared, and also the social compliance framework. There's about, I can't recall, 400 plus members there. And here again, we discuss on social compliance matters. Please join its Facebook group. If at all you have any issues, you can also raise questions. There are members who are more than willing to provide their advice, info, and so on. So the slides I shared today will also be published here. Okay, and there are also a couple of resources that is here. And when I was doing research for this presentation, I've gone through quite a bit of this just to get some context so that I don't leave out some pertinent suggestions and ideas. So these are some. There are many here. There are many resources in the net or in the internet that you could use and will be quite helpful in your design of your framework. Okay, so let me go back to the question answer. So let me see. Okay.
There was quite a number of questions and comments to you, Mr. Arul. So if we go over them in the chat first.
Yeah. So okay. So let me see. So I pick, or you want to ask me? So let me pick lah. Okay, that's quite a lot. Okay, so let me see, where did we stop just now? Yeah. In case if anyone want to chip in, Andy, I know you're on the call, and I believe Magma rep is here. I believe a couple of agents are also here, company reps. Now, if there's any good practices that you have embarked on, you think can be useful to us today, you may want to also chip in. Okay.
Yeah, so I would take up Mr. Arul on this call to our participants while we are going over comments and questions, which are quite many, Mr. Arul. In the chat, as I can see, it will take us some time to address all of them. Feel free to chip in between Mr. Arul's answers.
Sure. Okay. So I just want to just echo what Supun Nigamuni has said. Even with zero tolerance policy, the concern is expensive loans they've taken before arriving at the designated recruitment agent's place. There's always agents at villages, regional levels, where they get to designated agent as well as to entertain bribes along the way. The more deeper we dig this, and the more cases we see. So that is why from the very start, from the very onset of things, we need to do it right and avoid engaging any unknown party. So, for example, if let's say the worker sees our advertisement somewhere, and then somebody comes up to him saying that, hey, let's say, Ali, do you want to join this recruitment drive? You can. I know somebody there. I know the agent there. He's my good friend, etc. But I will need to pay me money. Now, the worker unknowingly, he may say, oh, that since he heard his brothers all paying money before, so he thought this is common, he pays money. Now, when the worker arrives at the recruitment center, that's where you start, the process of ethical recruitment. You ask them, did you pay any money to come here to anyone? And so on and so forth. Now, if he claimed that he has paid, then you should know what to do at that point itself. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to pick a couple of questions, may not be able to answer all. Should companies repatriate workers if post-survey found out the workers did pay? Now, you see, so there's a question from Kai Siang. Should companies repatriate workers if in the post-departure survey, they were to find out that workers did pay. Now, the workers have already paid. If you send them back, you repatriate them back, you know, they're not going to recover the cost. They're already vulnerable. They're already in debt bondage already. They will not be able to raise, 20,000, for example, in the case of Bangladesh, they will not be able to raise 20,000 without a job in Bangladesh. So just imagine the impact to them, their family, and so on. So that is not, I mean, in my view, if you found that the workers have paid, see, very simple. The moment you have made an offer to a candidate, just let's put ourselves in the shoes of the workers. Now, to answer many of these questions, it's very simple, put ourselves in the shoes of these workers. Now, if we were to be them, I paid 20,000. I paid 20,000 to secure a job in Malaysia with a lot of promises. My family is poor. I want to get my sisters married off and so on. I found money. I sold my land, etc. I paid this money. Now, then the company tells me that since you have paid, I cannot take you. Now he's left unattended. He's left, vulnerable at that moment. It's from that moment onwards. So that is, in my view, the moment you have already interview shortlisted worker, we are responsible to ensure their welfare is taken care of. Okay, nice to see, nice to touch. Once you touch, you're responsible for it. Okay, do companies adopt a don't ask, don't tell policy in relation to foreign recruitment fees? I'm not sure, Andrew, the context of the question. Do companies adopt a don't ask, don't tell policy? You see, when we keep all this confidential, that we have a zero tolerance, recruitment fee policy, we don't, we don't tolerate this, we believe in this, we believe in that, etc. If we don't publicize it, if we don't tell others, how will they know? So in my view, it is good to be transparent, communicate all this transparently, extensively to any parties involved in the process. So at least they are aware, they are alert. So according to Karun, candidate will not make flight if found payments during pre-departure orientation. So again, going back to what Kai Siang was trying to ask just now, if the workers have paid, and then we tell them that, oh, because you have paid, I cannot bring you to Malaysia, etc. I think that is an irresponsible behavior of an employer. Because why? Because of our objective to recruit, they got into these issues. They would not have gone to these issues if it is not for us. So washing our hands off just because we want to keep our records clean is not the right way to do. So that is why to minimize this is to avoid using sub-agents. I know, I'm not a fan of sub-agents, by the way, but I know we cannot eliminate sub-agents altogether, especially if we are recruiting large numbers and we don't have, we don't have 10 years to recruit them, etc. I agree. But, having proper processes to mitigate and minimize and eliminate this is important. So like I said, you see, when I look at some of these questions asked, I think we're still looking at, through the old lens of doing things. Please remove the old lens, put on the new lens. How do we want to do this so that the workers are not taken advantage of? We are not impacted as an organization, like what has happened, to some organizations today. How do we avoid this? So let's not look at the old lens, the old way, the old method, the old practice. Let's look at things anew. Could the mass recruitment exercise cause these flaws where agencies take full advantage? So if let's say if the issue is a mass recruitment exercise, then don't do mass recruitment exercise, do a smaller mini exercises. Approval of migrant quota to unqualified employees who seek recruitment. Parliament, okay, this one I think we need to leave it to government. That's why the government, Alex, thanks for raising this. If you have a chance to get a copy of the National Action on Forced Labour, you will see that many of these are in the plans of the government to get it addressed. So the government is embarking on this 5-year plan to work on addressing all these issues that we face today. So hopefully that turns out to reality. And I think we also have a role to play as companies. See, if everybody in this in this game of chess, or in this management of migrant workers, if every one of us plays our part, no matter how big or how small, I'm very sure we can overcome this. Okay. Yeah, correct. So Kai Siang, yes, you said, you ask the workers, they'll say, yes, sir, 3 bags full, because they just do not know their rights. If they do not know that they are not supposed to pay fees, if we fail to tell them that you are not required to pay any fee to get a job in Malaysia. If you don't tell them, they won't know. So when they ask, and because they're threatened, they'll say no, 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 all the way through. And then we discover later, yes. So Hoa, where can I access information from worker survey? Now, this is a survey that you have to develop. You need to ask your own workers. So if you have already foreign workers today, sample out them, go and see them today, prepare a simple survey, did you pay, etc. But, sometimes, we tend to do this survey as a paper exercise. Just to, we complete the survey, we get the workers either thumbprint or, worker signature, just to show auditors that, yes, I've done the survey. This is a survey, the worker said no. Now, please just don't do a paper-based exercise. Please add a little bit more meaning to the process. Just like, in our performance management system, our boss says that, okay, please fill in your achievement for this year. I will key in your input and we are done for it. Now you will feel, where is the meaning to our performance management system? What are the areas that I need to improve? So don't just run the process for the sake of running it, just to convince the auditors that, I've done this, etc. Add meaning to it. Make the workers understand the process. Make the workers understand the impact of, not following through the current processes. Make the workers understand, why they need to tell us the truth, and tell them that they are protected, not to worry, etc. Right? Okay, Alex says, can the employment contract include articles on recruitment fee? Yes. In fact, I have personally seen employment contracts where there are provisions, there are clauses on recruitment fee and placement fee. Companies have taken the, the step to mention the employment contract that you are not required to pay any fees. And it's already mentioned, and it's also mentioned what are the items covered. So it is all, these are things within your control. Okay, Robert, can you share the link for PHIR mechanism? Okay, it's in the forum. I don't know how to share a link from the forum, but my email address is in the slides. If you drop me an email, I'll send you one is the write-up for PHIR mechanism. 2 is a sample PHIR mechanism calculator. Okay, Alex, that's also a good answer. Instead of PHIR, can it be replaced with basic salary plus productivity incentives? Yes, that's another option. You pay basic plus incentives, but remember, all these incentives also goes back into the calculation of ORP. And if you're employing local, it also, attracts EPF. But like I said, if it makes sense for company to to give this, and it's advantageous to employee, nobody's going to say no. Employees are happy, you are happy, morale is high, productivity is high. Why not, right? Okay. So Navin has mentioned this. Arul, just an interesting point to note on PHIR payment. The Australian Fair Work Commission recently struck down the practice of PHIR because of evidence it was systematically abused by employers to pay migrant workers below minimum wage. Okay, yeah, you have a point as well, if it's not drafted carefully. But, okay, what can be done to ensure PHIR are used, etc.? Now, see, in Malaysia, the minimum wage order that the government, announces from time to time, if you go back and look at, examine the minimum wage order, it is clearly indicated what is the per day rate. So when you design the PHIR mechanism, the minimum amount the workers must earn in the 8 hours work cannot be less than 1,002 divided 26. If you have a calculator, you can calculate that. So whatever PHIR you're giving them, it cannot be less than the minimum daily rate. So if you design a PHIR work where the workers cannot produce minimum, then it's wrong. Then maybe like what Australia says is designed to fail, right? So you got to be also reasonable there. Okay. Hasrin said, yes, PHIR mechanism can result in higher salary. Yes, I've personally witnessed that. The PHIR mechanism allows employee to work harder and they can earn more. So it's a fair treatment. If I do minimum, I get my minimum daily rate guaranteed by the law. That's minimum. But you see, there are different types of human beings out there. Some who just, who do bare minimum because that's what requirements say so. Some of them are very hardworking. They just want to earn more and more. But it should not, we should not take advantage of that situation. So what we do, we lower the rate and make them work more. So you got to do your F time study, and to see what will be a reasonable amount of work can be done in that 8 hours of work, and what will be the per piece rate based on the minimum that the government has spelled out. So I think in my view, always look at a win-win situation. Good for the employee, good for you. See, when employees are happy, they are productive, morale is high, they will defend you at all costs if they're happy. So, and for you is, I like to ask this question, and maybe I like to ask members this question as well. Now, if your organization today makes $1 million profit, $1 million ringgit profit, but $1 million ringgit profit, but this amount of headache, or because you are responsible, you are not stingy, etc., your profit is only about 700 or 600,000 per year, but your headache is almost minimum, almost zero. Which option would you like? 1 million profit with tons of headache, you cannot sleep at night, you're worried about this, you're worried about that, you're worried about this person highlighting this issue, this video, that video, or I rather take a smaller profit. I'm not saying no profit, a smaller profit, let's say 600 or 700,000, but I can sleep peacefully at night. Workers are happy. I don't need to police them around. I don't need to check whether they're doing it right, doing it wrong, etc. Which option? A, B, you decide. Okay. Yep. So Andy says, Arul, in all countries except Myanmar, sub-agents or brokers are illegal, should not be used. Instead, agents should do direct recruitment themselves, either in village, etc. More effective advertising. Definitely takes more time and cost, and maybe sometimes higher. So thanks for the input, Andy. So in all countries, apart from Myanmar, sub-agents or brokers are not allowed. Okay, that's the info for members of the call today. Okay, yeah, I'm not answering all questions because there's quite a bit. I'm just picking some of the ones that I may not have addressed. Yeah. So Robert Chong says that engaging a third party for monitoring could lead to be on the same side of the agent. This is a risk factor. Agreed, Robert. I think if you were to appoint a third party and if we don't monitor, manage them accordingly, they could jump fence. Like bahasa they say harapkan pagar, pagar tak boleh diharap. So, if we were to appoint them and we don't, we need to, that's why I said, you see, everything that we do in life, there's always risk. But how do we put in control measures? What are the control mechanisms that we have to prevent this from happening? So this is something that you need to, again, there's no quick answer for it, but this is something that we need to take note of when we design, the ethical recruitment framework. HR who does not understand local language may be manipulated. So local representative, Girish Sharma, just to answer your question just now, I have been, promoting the idea of sending your current foreign workers back to their home country to help you out in the recruitment process because they know the language. Another Nepali may be more comfortable with his own countrymen. He may think that, hey, that guy, he's Nepali, he speaks our language, and furthermore, he's an employee there. I can get ideas from how's work life, like how's this, how's that, etc. And let me see if I have any others. Okay, some companies use grievance mechanism to shut workers down. Well, you see, again, if you're doing it just to show that we have it, but we don't live it, we don't practice what we preach, then we run into trouble, right? Sometimes when issues crop up, in most cases, we always deny it, saying that, when issues crop up, when someone or anyone highlights issues or workers put up a complaint, etc., the first thing that organizations tend to do is, no, that's not true. We have our internal control. We believe in these standards. We believe in that. We believe in this. We have that, etc., only to be proven true at a later stage. Then we go around scrambling to reply, and then we said, okay, now we have engaged third-party auditor. So now, you see, again, these are all things that is within our influence. If we do things right, not for the sake of doing it, but really to do it, really to make the right things happen, etc., we will not run into these issues. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Endless questions coming in. Julia, how do I manage? Do you want me to go on answering or how? There's a lot. There's a lot. Okay. While we wait for Julia, are Malaysian employees ready to pay more on overall recruitment fees? This is from PT Sumber Kencana Sejahtera. I guess one of our friends from Indonesia. Yes, see, companies today are already paying all these fees. Sumber Kencana, companies are already paying the recruitment fees. Indonesian happen to be one of the lowest, which is about 3,000 ringgit. Now, if the cost increases for whatever reasons, I believe employees are prepared to pay, because today employees pay even up to 5,000, 6,000 for Nepali recruitment. So employees are ready to pay. Like I said, if they want foreign workers, for their business contingencies, or their business sustainability, etc., the companies need to be prepared to pay. Nothing comes free, nothing comes easy, nothing comes cheap. There's a cost for everything. Okay. So Hua Adam says RBA has been successful with zero recruitment fee. Yes, Hua, RBA, BSCI, even Apple. I am quite familiar with Apple standards. They all, mandate zero recruitment fee on their suppliers. So in fact, I would say today, many of the glove companies, especially the big boys, they have implemented zero recruitment fee. Of course, there are some lapses here and there which require improvement, but it has also started in the glove industry and also in the palm oil industry. Electronics industry started, RBA mainly caters for electronic industry. They started almost 10, 12 years ago, zero recruitment fee. But of course, there are companies that that are hidden, not known. They don't believe in this or they don't practice this, but only time will tell whether things will catch up with them. Okay. Okay, Kai Siang says, if a migrant worker, if I was a migrant worker and I've taken a 20,000 debt, I would be incentivized to omit that I've paid off the middleman. Yeah, we need to find ways to avoid that, Kai Siang, because end of the day is somebody has got to pay off the 20,000. If not the worker, who else is going to pay? The agent is going to be very happy staying in his posh, house or posh car with his posh office, etc., at the expense of these poor workers. Okay. Yep. Let me see. Surinya from Pro Forest. The building block on ethical recruitment program linking various stakeholders in the country of origin and country of destination needs to be established with proper oversight. Yes, you're right. Proper oversight and clear stand of payment of recruitment fees and costs. Otherwise, gaps and risk exposure will persist. Having said this, the current recommendations can serve as a stopgap measure and practical. Yes. So thanks, Surinya, for sharing this. See, whatever that I've shared today are some of the best practices that I myself have learned from the interviews that I've had, from the documents that is available in the internet, and also a bit of common sense that I've put into context, and the best practices and so on. So in fact, I would say that you might even come up with even better ideas. These are just a proposal, or some recommended steps. I think if you go on and do further, you may even come out with more ethical, more efficient steps, more robust steps. Now, of course, it will be good if you can also share this, whatever that you do. There's nothing here P&C, because why? We must remember that it is not a zero-sum game for us. If one company do it right, but 10 others do it wrong, Malaysia will be affected. So why not share the goodies? If you have a process today and you feel that this has been working well for you and this can work well for others, why not share it? Right? Because end of the day, if Malaysia is affected, you will be affected as well. For example, let's put it this way. I take a real case example. The maids from Indonesia. Why did the maids from Indonesia stop coming here? There are good employees in Malaysia. I've seen employees who treat the maids with proper care, dignity. They're given proper room. They're paid accordingly. I know of employers. Personally, I know of employers. They insist the worker to go back every 2 years. Go back to your home. 1 month, it's okay. We will manage. Go back. They pay for the flight. They send them to airport. They fetch them from airport. Every 2 years, they're sent back. There are good employees out there. But today, because of the bad employers or the irresponsible employers, no maids to Malaysia today. Of course, there are also a few other reasons why, but this will be one of all the abuse cases they've referred. So, so we must remember that whatever that we do also affects others. So if you have a good practice, I would suggest, please share it with the others. Don't be, I don't want to use it as stingy, but let's share the goodies. Because if the whole Malaysia does it well, look at the benefit, not just for you, but the country as a whole, right? So we always can go on blaming the government this, the government that. But you see, yes, the government may be responsible, for part of the issues that we face today. But there are also many things that the companies are responsible and not the government. So let's not just finger point, it is the government and not me, etc. I think every party, be it the government, be it the employers, be it all these associations like MAGMA, MPOA, etc., other stakeholders, the activists, the NGOs, everybody has a role to play, right? So I think, I would really like to say this, the past is past. I think many organizations are taking the effort to remediate, workers that has paid recruitment fee in the past, but at least from today and moving forward, let's do it correctly, right? Let's do it correctly so that we can avoid this in the long run. Okay, I think I am done, unless if there's anyone who would like to just ask any questions, or Julia, Savitri, is there something you would like to highlight as well?
I think there are still some questions which I also would like you to take, but maybe let's give you a break because you've been.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay. Which one is that? Which one is that?
We have a hand raised, so maybe we would allow the intervention.
Sure. Yep. Sure. Go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
So we have this Durba from Migration Drishti, Nepal, right? And I'm being told that you can turn on your mic and just pose your question or share your thoughts. What we're talking about today, I've been told that you actually set up a third-party organization to promote the practices of ethical employment. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me short time. My name is Turba. I am a former worker from Malaysia. I have worked there for 4 years at an electronics factory in Malaysia, and then I have returned to Nepal in 2018. And since that, myself and we have a team, a small team in Nepal with the former migrant workers. We are doing independent. We are trying to do independent third-party monitoring support to ethical recruitment and employers. So we have some experience. We did it, and then recently we have registered a company. Like previously, we just doing it as an independent, the experience. But now we have started a company called Migration Drishti. This is a private organization recently registered in Nepal. The organization's main objective is to bring the migrant workers from Nepal going for foreign employment into the mainstream of ethical, lawful, fair, and responsible recruitment processes, as well as to help the foreign employer company and recruitment agencies as an independent, skilled, and professional third party in implementation of ethical recruitment ambitions. And our key proposed support to recruitment agency or employer are provide support to set up whole ethical recruitment projects, provide independent third-party grievance channel, also worker counseling and full monitoring of ethical recruitment drive, and provide needful feedback and recommendation to resolve issues. And definitely, as I mentioned, the ownership of our company belongs to 2 former Nepalese workers, migrant workers from Malaysia and Saudi Arabia. So I would just want to share a very short experience. Like we did it before as an independent person, and some agency. We worked with some recruitment agency in Nepal, but it was very challenging. Like if there is no support from employer, it's very difficult to manage with these recruitment agencies because they have the different nature, different understanding, and different experience. And also sometimes they try to ignore, they try to still they try to cheat the workers, or sometimes they don't understand what is ethical recruitment and then how we can do in practice. So I would like to say that if employer is very serious with ethical recruitment, and if they support from their end, it will be very successful. In my experience, because recruitment agency, I saw they're very serious with their employer, their client, but they are not very serious with third party, and then they also don't understand what is the benefit of using the third party. So if anyone want speak with us directly, I will leave our contact detail in chat box. And thank you very much for giving me
Yeah, Dhruba, Dhruba, I have a question for you. Since you are an ex-worker from Malaysia and you do this, so what you're doing third-party services, I mean third-party monitoring, is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I just want to ask you this question because this is a question that was also asked in the forum because you are there, so I mean you're on site. Do companies really, in the case of Nepal, since you come from Nepal, do companies really need to engage sub-agents in Nepal, or they can actually go to one agent and the one agent can do recruitment for them? Is there really a need to use third-party, I mean a sub-agent, sorry, in this case? Is it really necessary in your experience, since you are an ex-worker and you are now doing all these advisory services, etc.? What's your view on this?
Yeah, so thank you for your questions. So in my experience, and so I definitely believe that there is no need of any sub-agent, any like illegal broker, because maybe everyone aware that in Nepal the sub-agent is illegal. Like government already don't allow this sub-agent. So recruitment agency have to work themselves. I mean, they have to source the workers through different channel like advertisement, village campaign, and so many things. So definitely it's possible. We did it also because with some recruitment agency in Nepal, we did it like basically still there is chance of like this illegal and unauthorized broker or sub-agent involvement, but definitely it's possible to reduce the risk, reduce the these challenges if recruitment agency is very serious with ethical recruitment. This is my experience.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, maybe good to share your context so any of the members here, if they want services for third-party monitoring, they could reach out to you. Thanks, Dhruba. So let me just cover one question that was asked by Manjit. She says, can you provide any specific cases from your research experience which highlight the unethical recruitment practice of large companies to draw public attention? I think I will not be able to name companies, but I think if you go to you just go to Google, within seconds you'll get some names of organizations in Malaysia that has been caught up with the issue of recruitment fee. And Subramaniam says this, or he asked this question: systems and procedures works well for corporate companies. What about smallholders in oil palm? How can we manage agencies? I don't know. For me personally, I would say that it doesn't really matter whether it's small or big, because at the end of the day, whether it's small or big, you still have to pay a recruitment fee, and you still have to pay. I don't think the agencies are going to shun you because you're a small company, because even a restaurant with 3 workers are also able to get agencies to supply them, right? So I don't think it's possible, but I think it's about reaching out to the to the right agency. So if you do a tendering process, I'm very sure there could be agents who respond to your advertisement. I'm sure there will be. But what is important is to reach out to them and tell them that this is what the company believes in. We will pay the recruitment fee, so you're not allowed to collect from the workers, and this is what we want, etc. And sometimes you have to convince them on long-term business rather than short-term. So with that, maybe they said, they'll say that, okay, these guys are small, but I see a long-term prospect. One of the things that I forgot to emphasize strongly just now is that another approach to ethical recruitment framework that I'm envisioning is invite the agents and sub-agents, if you can afford it, or if they can afford it, you can always say, okay, we can go 50-50, invite them to Malaysia. Bring these agents to Malaysia, bring the sub-agents if you're using them to Malaysia, or if these agents, bring them to Malaysia. You can do all the briefing in Malaysia, etc. Get them to meet your current foreign workers, bring them to the hostels. This is where the workers are going to stay. Let them take some photos. This is where the workers are going to work. These are the benefits given to them. This is how we manage workers. And let them talk, let them mingle around with the current workers to, to hear all the challenges, issues. So they know that, okay, this is one of those concerns. I will not, when I go back, I will not repeat this again. Okay. I know, many a times we send SOS, okay, I want 100. The next thing is you go to airport and fetch them. Now that method cannot work anymore. So do whatever you can. If you feel bringing these workers over is unnecessary cost, etc. Well, I wouldn't say it's okay or not okay, but look at the benefits of doing so. If you can afford it, that's good. If you can't afford it, then you go to the home country, and educate this agent. Sorry. Okay. Yep. So who will be blamed if the recruitment fee charged by sub-agent is source country outside the recruitment contract between me? Okay. Norain, ultimately, we are the principal, right? Ultimately, we are the principal. If you go back to Employment Act, it clearly says that if wages are not paid, the principal is to blame. So if we use, subcons, we are the principal. So in this case, ultimately, we are the principal. Ultimately, we are the one who is going to, manage these workers. We're going to, we are going to employ them, and whatever goes wrong, it comes back to us. So shouldn't we take the, take the lead to do it right? See, the agents, once they collect money, they're happy. If you tell them tomorrow, I don't use anymore, the guy said, who cares? There's so many other companies. I can send workers to Dubai and whatnot, etc. So ultimately, you are going to be responsible. We, you and I, and we are going to be responsible. So we must take the onus. The onus is on us to do it. Okay. Yep. Okay. So let me see. Yeah. So I don't know. How do you think employee union can play an effective role? Okay. So Muha, thanks Muha. Muha was ex-Prasarana. I happen to know him. So Muha asked this question: how do you think employees union could play an effective role in eliminating forced labor in an organization? As we know, in some companies, foreign workers are not members of union. So one of the things that union could do is to enlarge the union membership. The law, correct me if I'm wrong, Muha, the law does not say that foreign workers cannot be members of union. I know many unions have this thing that, it's only for locals. So if the union wants to play a role, enlarge your membership, include the foreign workers into your union, and, fight for their rights. I can tell you companies, I mean, I've come from, unionized environment before. I know the companies, sometimes they fear union, right? They are so scared of union, or shall I say, maybe I won't say scared, they will do it right because the union is there. The moment you don't do it right, union comes behind your back. So the single, most effective solution, or the most effective method for union to play a part is to enlarge the scope of the union membership. Because if let's say the union refuse to enlarge their membership, they go to the company, bosses and say that, okay, the foreign workers are not our members, but there's something that we want to highlight you're not doing right. The company is going to say, hey, Muha, apa benda, these guys are not your members. You only talk about your members, you don't talk about others. So there you go. So one way for union to play an active role is to enlarge the membership. So, I take note of the case of Goodyear. The foreign workers went after Goodyear for not paying the benefits, wages that locals are given under, the local members are given under the CA. So to me, if the members, this union can enlarge their membership, I think that alone, that single biggest effort alone, can help us to, really minimize the forced labor issues. The problem is nobody is there to defend them. Nobody is there to fight for their rights. They are left alone. It's just like, us, leaving our kid in a playground alone, unattended. So this is what happens. So if the union can do that, I can tell you fantastic. Or perhaps, if the union at the national level can encourage foreign workers to set up their own union, a national union, if the law allows it. Okay. Yep. Yep. So let me see. Okay. Yeah. So thanks, Durba, for sharing your thing. That'll be quite helpful. At least you could help give some ideas to companies how to go about setting their processes. Okay.
There was a question from Garija.
Yeah. What was that?
Several auditors are saying that piece rate is fine, but incentives and incentivizing is not right, as it tantamounts to forced labor. Meaning by incentivizing, you are encouraging workers to do more, and it's also discrimination in some sense. What is your take on this? So,
well, I think, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Grija.
Hi, Arul.
Yeah, hi. You see, there are many ways to bring about productivity. Most companies out there, this piece rate mechanism, I think is used in some plantations and some manufacturing sectors, but it's not widely used. And this is a practice of the past, I would say. So if you go on a monthly wage mechanism, basic salary 1,002, OT is at 1.5, 2.0 as per Employment Act. And then if you're working on shift, there's a night shift allowance of X amount of money. Some company even give day shift allowance. Some give some other incentives, critical allowance or inconvenience allowance, etc. Just to compensate for the challenge these workers go through. The piece rate mechanism, is quite a lucrative. I wouldn't say lucrative, but it's a mechanism that pays people more. But of course, incentivizing them, offering incentives to do more and more and more can be also quite detrimental to the workers' welfare, because indirectly we entice them to work more and disregard safety measures, disregard their own personal well-being and own personal welfare. I think it's not right. Paying, those days, if you remember, before minimum wage came into practice, there were basic salary as low as 350 ringgit those days, before the minimum wage came into place in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. There were even basic salary as low as 350 ringgit. And then the workers have to work long hours just to take home a salary of 1,000 ringgit. So a responsible employer who is already making profits, will need to put on this cap. Would we, if our child were to, take up this kind of job, how would we pay them? If we were to put our relatives at work to do this same job that these foreign workers doing, how would we pay them? So I think as we say, work hard, play hard, or work hard, play hard. There's also time to rest and enjoy. So I think a balance is required. So you see, the law is not going. See, again, this is very much self-initiative. The law in Malaysia will not dictate. You cannot use piece rate mechanism, or this is how a piece rate mechanism, should work. Yes, the law says it, but the law will not tell companies you cannot give incentives. But I think it's really a self-awareness, self-conscious effort that companies will need to take.
Thanks, Arul. Thank you so much.
There is Andrew Pu is asking, Bar Council. There was a question about the latest national action plan on forced labor, or is it just another NAP? Or Andrew, would you like to turn on your mic and clarify in case that question was missed?
So yeah, the NAP, the National Action Plan on Forced Labor was just launched a couple of days ago, and it's an ambitious plan by the government. I'm not in the committee to draft this or whatnot, but it's a plan by the government. I think because of all the past issues that we have been facing, I think the government is also quite in a situation to do something. They have to do something because we are also downgraded from tier 2 to tier 3, in the index by US with regards to human trafficking, mainly because of migrant workers issues. So I would say that it's good to take this thing seriously, play our part, because everybody can play a part. Every small effort, every small block that we contribute, can be something big when we combine it together as a country as a whole. Okay, let me see. Yeah, so Robert, thanks a lot for your comments. It is challenging for small and mid-sized oil companies to take seriousness in ethical recruitment. Capacity building is required. Yeah, you're right. So usually for smaller companies, because they don't have the resources, some of them may not have the resources. See, of course, a little bit of investment is required to create this resource. To either hire, for example, the social compliance agenda is becoming, much more important as the day goes by. Do we have somebody in the organization, leading this topic for us? I know some of the big players, they do have a team of people working on social compliance. In some smaller companies, they have one man, which is good. At least you have somebody. But if you don't have anybody, or if nobody is taking this agenda of social compliance, which talks about, recruitment fees, ethical recruitment, workers' welfare, forced labor, etc. I think it's time that we either engage somebody or get someone in the organization to lead this topic for the organization, reviewing the practices, reviewing the policies, looking into all the best practices out there, bringing it into your company, etc. So capacity building is definitely required. So one of the call today and all these sessions organized by Nottingham, with help from MAGMA and the embassies and all that. So this is another initiative where capacity building is being put in place, right? So it's good to participate and so on. And I know at least one company listening in today, they have made all their HR reps listen to the call today, which I think is a good practice, because everybody needs to know. It is not just somebody's business, it's everybody's business. Okay, I think we've covered quite a bit. Yep.
Is there any remaining questions? Or if you feel that you had a burning question and it wasn't covered by Mr.
Yeah,
Arun,
sure.
would you like to turn on your mic and speak? Feel free to do so.
So Alex mentioned union only allowed migrant to become associate members. Well, I mean, even it's better than nothing, is it? If they can become, as long as company do not tell you they are not your members, you cannot fight for them. If they can become associate members, it's better than being no member at all, right? So if the union can allow these workers to be associate members, and if you can include them into your process, I'm not so sure, because whether they can be included in the collective bargaining, collective agreement, etc. They'll be nice. Even being just an associate member, but you're able to speak on behalf of them, that is already a job well done, right? So that'll be nice if unions can enlarge the scope. Because you see, our Employment Act, if you go back to the Employment Act, it says that, discrimination, local, foreign, they're treated the same. Whether it's a local or foreign worker, they fall under Employment Act. Whatever that locals enjoy, foreign enjoy. The only aspect where our Employment Act differentiates them is when companies are retrenching. If there's a retrenchment exercise, EA says foreign workers in the same category goes first. Only that differs. So in a retrenchment exercise, I repeat, in a retrenchment exercise, foreign workers in the same category. So let's say if the company is going to retrench operators, so let's say there's 200 Malaysian operators and 50 foreign operators, Employment Act says that the foreign operators need to go first, right? So other than that, they all enjoy the same rights, no discrimination. So as I said, Goodyear case is a good case for us to reflect on. Should we now differentiate local and foreign in terms of pay, in terms of grade, etc.? If they're doing the same job, same work conditions, same supervisor, same output, etc., should we differentiate them just because they're foreigner or just because the language differs? I think using language is just an excuse. It's a convenient excuse for companies to pay them separately. Yeah.
Mr. Anil Kumar, this is
yes.
Anil Taneja.
Yeah, hi,
A few
Anil.
days ago, the Minister of Human Resources announced that Malaysia would be signing on the ILO Forced Labor Protocol 29. Do you have any idea when that will be actually executed?
No idea. I too read it. That the government is going to sign it, but I have no idea. But I think Anil, thanks for bringing this up. But you see, we don't need to wait for government to sign the protocol. We can lead it, because the government is not going to say, I did not sign it, therefore you cannot embark on it. I think in fact the recruitment fee, we started it. The company started it. Only the government is now catching up with what has been started by companies like Top Glove, Harta Lega, Infineon, Supermax, and all these people. They have started it 2019. The government today produced a document called the National Action Plan on Forced Labor, stating about recruitment fee. So there's nothing wrong for us to get it started. Government will come later, not to worry about it. We can only set best practices. We don't need to be followers all the time. We can be the leaders as well. But anyway, thanks for highlighting. Really hope that that materializes. So at least Malaysia is on par with many other countries with regards to forced labor.
I agree. I mean, it just gives all the agencies and the government that much more power to execute on it. So that's why I was asking, Arun.
Yeah. So Robert Leong also asked this: how do you view GCC in most oil palm companies in Malaysia? Robert, I am not really an oil palm guy. I'm more of a manufacturing guy. I don't know if anyone in the call today could answer Robert's question. But before that, let me just share this view. Now, one of the best practices, or shall I say, one of the good practices in foreign workers management or managing foreign workers is to allow them to do collective bargaining. So to me, JCC, collective bargaining, union rep, workers rep, I would put them all in the same basket. So meaning that what we could do is allow the workers to get to elect, get the workers to elect their own workers rep. So if you have 200 foreign workers, ask the 200 foreign workers, do a small election, small balloting process. Ask the workers to elect, not appoint. Company shouldn't appoint. Ask the workers to elect, saying that we want to put in place a workers rep or workers committee. Can you elect 20 workers? Your choice. You choose. Elect 20 workers from your group, and once the group is formed, engage the group, talk about issues that affects workers, get input from them. See, it has got to be a two-way traffic, from bottoms up and also from top down. Any issues, bring it up. Any issues, inform them, etc. So similarly at JCC, of course, we know JCC is always put in place to as a prelude to union coming into existence, or to also keep them at bay. But whether it's JCC, workers rep, etc., the benefit of doing it is workers feel that their voice is heard, their welfare is taken care of or taken into consideration. So I know, I'm quite sure many organizations today, especially in manufacturing, you may not have a workers rep. Implement workers rep, because I know whether it's, whenever the auditors audit you, they always ask you this question: do you have a workers rep? If your answer is no, turn it to a yes in the next round. It's very simple. Gather your workers, tell them they want to form a committee where the company wants to work with the committee to look into issues and work on topics. Please elect them. Make it free, open, transparent, no coaching and whatnot. Let them appoint their people, because they may listen to their people, they may trust their people instead of people that we appoint. Okay.
We have a hand here, unless you'd like to take another question, Mr. Arul.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Andy Hall, please.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for letting me speak briefly, and thank you to the University of Nottingham and the British Embassy for organising this session. Also to Arul for facilitating. I think I don't have so much to add, actually, because Arul has given a very comprehensive presentation. But I just wanted to say, how important it is that the employers in Malaysia take the lead on these issues, because actually, in my experience, especially at the top management level, there's a very little understanding about ethical recruitment issues. And that is why the problem has been so difficult during the years, because at the management level, the CEO level, COO level, they don't have an understanding. And it's been something that's been seen as outside of the control of the companies. But actually, when the companies come in and take control of these issues and dictate to the manpower agencies how they behave, then it becomes very easy to do the ethical recruitment. Actually, it's not so technical, and the manpower agency will do what the employer requires if it is a condition of their business. So one of the reasons why so many of these problems have arisen is because of the employers not taking this issue seriously. And I do believe that it has to start with the employer. And unfortunately, there's always been this perspective or belief that these problems are source country problems, but it's clearly not the case. All these issues start from Malaysia and Malaysian employers and systemically corrupt Malaysian migration systems. This is this basis of all these problems. And the reason why the workers are paying so much at source country is because of the problems in Malaysia, which need to be addressed first. And once we've addressed the problems in Malaysia, then definitely we have to address the problems in the source countries and the capacity of the agencies and this bad practices by the agencies. But I think it's really important, I think, as Arul said, to have risk assessment, to have open tenders. And, the companies need to start again, because there's a legacy of kickbacks, of corruption, of abuse between Malaysian agents and Malaysian companies and source country agents. And we need to start again. There are some ethical recruitment companies in the market, very few. And even those that are in the market don't have much capacity, but we need to empower them. And the employers are really in the situation where they can create an ethical recruitment market. So really, it is important that the employers themselves take the lead on this. And then I think that the ethical recruitment process won't be so difficult. So thank you for allowing me to just give a brief comment.
Maybe I just want to add on to what Andy has mentioned just now. You see, sometimes we tend to look for bigger agents because we believe bigger agents can deliver, and we don't work on small agents because small agents, they're small, etc. They may not have the reach. But sometimes we need to plant the seeds. I would say that sometimes it's good to hire, just like, I go back to our normal recruitment process. Why do organizations sometimes they prefer to hire fresh graduates? Because they say they are fresh. We can mold them. We can condition them, we can mold them, etc. We can guide them. But if you hire an experienced person, they come with certain baggages, etc. So similarly, I would say if there's a small agent out there, who has not been corrupted as yet, perhaps work with them, grow them, and they could be your, future pillar to lean on, when it comes to hiring workers, as per what we are speaking today. Okay, so there's a question by James. In your manufacturing experience with union, did the union address these recruitment issues? I don't think the union addressed because, that the challenge with union is this. If they bring in the workers into their scope, they'll always be comparing between locals and foreign. And because locals get no hostel, foreigners get hostel, and the workers start comparing. So this is at least, from one of the union members. Why aren't you opening your doors to the foreign workers? They say the comparing will never stop, etc. But I would say that if not full member, even associate member, that's good. That could be a first step. That could be a first step. But this conversation I had was many years ago. Maybe things have changed today. I didn't keep up with some of these people, but like I said, if you're able to explain to the employees, the locals, why foreigners are getting this and you're not getting it. In fact, you are getting EPF. The foreigners don't get EPF. So I think net shouldn't worry about it so much. To be honest with you, if you do a thorough calculation, which I've done once, the cost of employing local is a little bit more than cost of employing foreigner. I know some of you may disagree. So I repeat again, employing a local actually costs more than employing a foreign. If you also include the cost of attrition. If you do a direct cost comparison, yes, the recruitment cost, EPF, SOCSO, etc., bonuses, medical. In fact, in some companies, local are already more than foreign. But if you include EPF, if you include the cost of attrition, the cost of hiring, because foreign workers, when they come, they stay for long. So there's no cost of attrition on them. But for locals, there's cost of attrition. They come today, tomorrow, they're not there, you got to recruit again, etc. So we do an objective comparison, looking into both the hidden costs and the known costs. You will find that locals are a little bit more expensive than foreigner. If you ask me a percentage, I would say in the range of 10 to 14% more than foreigner. You may disagree, but you may want to do your calculation. Also look into the hidden costs that we always tend to overlook. Okay, I think there's a question. Andy would like to, sorry, Alex would like to ask a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey,
Alex,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, basically my question is actually a migrant worker who works here for years, and many of them even spend up to 15, 20 years here, but we do not see any what we call pension benefit that they receive. Is there any form of substitute for the pension fund for them? Because after they return back home, they will have no earning capacity anymore. So basically, that is lack of the what we call the retirement protection benefits there. That's question number one. Question number two is actually with regards to the salary cut during COVID. Apparently, a lot of my clients, they are actually minimum wage earner. So basically, as far as this part is concerned, is it because what we call the Human Resources Ministry do allow this type of salary cut even to those who are actually in the minimum wage regime? Just imagine they only earn 1,200, and then at the end of the day, after salary deduction, and then a little bit, a lot of minus, they get some of them, many of them actually get roughly only about 400-500 ringgit to survive. So it's quite impossible because we are creating the what we call a community of far below poverty income level in Malaysia. And then that is actually what I would mention as what we call the structural violence against these minimum wage people. And then the other one is actually with regard to the policy, which actually like what we call exclusion policy for the domestic worker, where actually on January 2020, where the MOHR actually remove the accountability and responsibility of the agent to mediate their what we call to comply to the decent works protocol under the MOU 2011. So the implication of the revocation of this particular protocol actually will expose those domestic migrant workers to extra risk, because MOHR no longer want to handle the case, and all the case has to bring to the what we call our judiciary system. Just imagine lowly educated, illiterate, and then have no access to the legal rights. And then at the end of the day, they will be actually like repatriated without any protection when they raise the grievance to the court. Because in Malaysia system, is actually once you already have developed what we call the beta relationship with the employer, they will actually withdraw their sponsorship on this migrant worker under immigration what we call process. They have to leave the country within 14 days. And then at that particular moment, before the court process, they cannot go back to the employer. The only place they can go is actually, if they are lucky, if they find a shelter, or else they will be actually detained in the immigration detention center while waiting for repatriation before justice is served. So as far as this part is concerned, there are actually a lot of gaps in the policy. Can Aru enlighten us on what do you think is the solution for this? For this, what we call the policy gap that actually create the what we call inequality against the what we call migrant workers. Thank you.
Okay, so Alex, your first question on the retirement benefits, you know, those expatriate permit holders, that means the expatriate, those who are, you know, they go through DP10, many of them do pay EPF. They do pay EPF.
Can you, Aru, because my client are mostly those unskilled and low-skilled workers. Like, for example, the plantation worker, and then the what we call the domestic worker, the construction workers, and those in the service sector. I'm talking about those low-income segment. They are not the expatriate.
Yeah, I know. I'm just sharing an example. So, are you an agent or are you an employer? I'm
an activist.
Okay, you're an activist. So you see, there's nothing wrong. See, if you're expecting government, I mean, let's say the idea is to, you know, when will the government in the very first place put in a piece of legislation that requires or mandates company to contribute to retirement benefits? That is something that I don't think I can answer. But companies, you see, there's nothing that stops the company from giving them something, retirement. I mean, you know, end of contract handshake payment or gratuity payment or whatnot. Nothing stops the company from doing so. So if a company wants to do it, they can do it. I can only share with you one best practice of a particular electronics manufacturer. They do something that the government don't even ask to do, meaning that they're doing it out of goodwill, etc. Which is every time the worker renews his or her contract, the company pays 1,000 ringgit and 2 weeks of paid home leave. So I'm just giving an example, and so this is. Government did not mandate any of this, but this company is doing out of goodwill, maybe, you know, out of goodwill, and maybe they want to just appreciate the effort that workers have put in. So I don't think, I mean, if you want to wait for the government, then we have to wait for the government, but companies could also take the early step, or, you know, be the leader in the market to, you know, to pay them something. So your second question, pay cut during COVID. You see, there was a bit of, there was a bit of mixed information coming from, you know, from different parties. You know, at one point, companies cannot pay cut, cannot do this, cannot do that. And second part, they said, okay, if you need to do pay cut, you know, if you need to retrench people, don't retrench, try to do pay cut first, etc. But I think these are all FAQs. FAQ is not a law. Order is not a law. News release or press statement is not a law. A law becomes a law when it's gazetted or when a formal order is issued by the minister. So our wage system, works on a no work, no pay basis. If you don't work, you don't get paid. So companies must provide pay or work if the worker is ready to work or ready to work. But COVID was a very unique situation where companies was not allowed to provide work. The companies were ready to provide work, but they could not provide work because the government says you cannot provide work. So in this context, the work cannot be performed, so no work done, therefore no pay. So of course there are, I know there are 1 or 2 cases that is currently ongoing in the industrial court to see whether company stand was right. If you don't work, you don't get paid, right? There's also a couple of articles written by some legal firms which also suggest that companies are not obliged to pay during this period. But I think there are also good companies out there. Whether the law says can or cannot, should or shouldn't, there are also companies out there who paid the minimum wage during this period, even if the company was not making money. There were also companies that could pay, but don't want to pay because they don't want to, affect their profits. But there were also company, there are also small companies, they also hand to mouth, no, they don't have proper cash flow. Just imagine if your business is shut and you're an organization without cash flow, so they also could not. So there were genuine companies who just cannot afford to pay. And were they wrong in the eyes of the law for not paying workers during COVID? I would, in my personal view, I would say no, because they don't have revenue, therefore they could not pay. So of course, some companies took up the wage subsidy from SOCSO, to pay, etc. So there were many different scenarios out there. So there is a write-up which says that during COVID situation, if work is not provided, employer is not to pay. Employer can choose not to pay. So I think what we can do is wait for the law. Any of the current ongoing cases, if it says the company is wrong, then this becomes a case law for our reference in the future. And then on your third question, this one I may need some help. If any members in the forum can help on this, or any members in the call today. Exclusion on a domestic worker from certain provisions of Employment Act. What I know is they do enjoy almost similar rights with all other workers. There are some provisions, yes, they were excluded. But one of the remedy for them is the embassies. In fact, we have seen past cases where workers were not paid or they were abused. The respective embassies took them in and took up a case on behalf of them. I think Indonesia embassy is quite that they do this quite extensively, if I'm not mistaken. So they do have the labor attaché who provides this support to their own citizen in Malaysia. So there's one remedy for them, which is embassies. So other than that, maybe I open up to the floor if anyone could comment or provide some input on Alex's comment on domestic workers, basically the maids at home, who is excluded. By the way, Alex, there's also a revision that is coming up on the Employment Act. I think the work domestic is going to be dropped off from the Employment Act, if I'm not mistaken. There's also a couple of other changes that is happening. So how far impact will it be on the domestic workers or the housemates? I do not know yet, but these are some changes that is coming up as well. So anyone would like to comment on Alex's comment on domestic workers?
Can I comment?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, basically, actually what happened is actually the domestic worker recruitment and contract is actually bounded by the bilateral MOU. Yeah. So it is actually like what we call the memoranda, yeah, to tell each government that this is what we are supposed to do together, but it doesn't have any legal binding. But the question is actually like when you give the exclusive monopoly to the agency to bring in the domestic worker, they must also have the accountability and responsibility for the protection of this domestic worker that they brought into Malaysia. So the challenging part is actually on January 22nd, if not mistaken, 2020, the current Director General cancelled the Protocol 2011, which actually spelled out the December Protocol, which include the what we call rest day, what we call salary pay to the bank account, as well as has what we call appropriate resting room and this and so on and so forth. And then and also like agent also play the mediation role to resolve the problem on the dispute. But once this particular protocol been removed or cancelled by the Malaysians what we call Human Resources Ministry, they clean their hand just based on because it is informal work. They don't want to handle anymore what we call domestic worker issue. So they will leave it to the court of law. Actually, that is also correct because they are also supposed to what we call handle the formal worker only, because the informal one will leave it to the agent. But when they remove the what we call the accountability and responsibility based on the instrument that agents sign called Aku Janji, and then this actually like the agent actually can walk free without any accountability for the people that they brought in. So this is actually a very challenging what we call policy decision, which is actually like also hindering what we call the future intake of the what we call domestic worker into Malaysia. As what you can see from 2016 until now, Malaysia, Indonesia haven't actually like at least review or sign the new MOU, and of course this could be one of the case that actually hinder it. Beside other matter, including the minimum wage and also the what we call the other what we call scope of job and so on and so forth. So as far as this part is concerned, it's actually like the main concern is actually when you put this informal worker, what we call not categorized as worker, as a helper, so it becomes a very challenging situation for us on the field that actually when there's a dispute between the helper and the what we call and the employer whom they help, the employment contract itself and then become a very challenging situation because there's no legal standing on Employment Act there. Yeah. So this is actually I would like to raise that because this is actually amounting to the forced labor and all sort of situation which actually we cannot actually like cannot be actually like smoothly processed at the Human Resources Ministry arbitration court. This is actually very challenging. As far as the what we call just now, I also forgot to mention when you mentioned about piecemeal. Actually, I think your contact is actually at the manufacturing sector. But if you look into the what we call plantation sector, once you become the piecemeal what we call worker, so everything you'll be on your own. That actually promotes the what we call become the self-employed worker. Eventually, we will end up with a lot of this what we call undocumented worker in the field because everything, including the work permit, everything will be done by themselves. At least they have to find a third party to to become their sponsor to continue working here. And then perhaps Aru, I'd like to maybe I just mentioned a little bit. If you look at the 6 million hectares of the plantation land we have, we need about 600,000 workers to work in the plantation based on 10 hectares per person. But in actual fact, registered in the immigration department is only 142,000. So that is actually contributed to a huge number of close to 300,000 who are actually irregular. Perhaps this could actually enlighten many of us who are in the plantation that hiring irregular is actually, it doesn't pay. It will give you the sleepless night. And then this will be actually the challenging part that we need to come out with a solution together with the employer, especially the smallholders, which actually in many cases that they are not qualified to hire migrant worker in terms of their acreage that they hold. So this we need to find a solution together. Thank you very much.
Okay, so just maybe so let me just put a closing remark to what Alex was saying on the quite a bit of things on the domestic worker and so on. I think perhaps stay tuned with some of the other conversations that other sessions that is organized by Nottingham where the government authorities are in it. So I think they'll be a better person to answer. But I think on the piecemeal thing that you mentioned, I think the practice out there is not in line with current Employment Act provisions, because see, whether they are contractor or their employee, the law is very clear. In fact, the amendments that is being made to the Employment Act clearly distinguish who's an employee, who's a contractor. So these people, if they are working in the plantation and they are paid piecemeal and they are working on a full-time basis, etc., they are guided, they are directed, they are controlled, they are actually an employee. As an employee, they're entitled to all the provisions of sick leave, annual leave, etc. I believe there are some plantation players who are not, who basically abuse the piecemeal mechanism for their own advantage. I don't think they're applying it correctly. This is my view on it. I don't think they're applying correctly. So maybe it's good to take on a journey to just enlighten further whether, you know, other good practices on piecemeal. Okay, so I think yeah, thanks for bringing this up. At least, you know, today we did speak quite a bit of piecemeal, basic piecemeal. Yep. So I think yeah, Julia, over to you.
There is a hand has been raised by
Oh, Lakshmi. Yeah, Lakshmi, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, one last question from Lakshmi then.
if we can take this.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hi, Arul. Thank you so much for the informative session. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, right. My question is actually about this. You know, like recently the EU has made some accusation that there is exploitative labor practices in the Malaysian palm oil sector, and especially in the oil palm plantations. I know that you did say that you're not from you're really from a manufacturing background, but I would just like to wonder what's your take on that? What's your opinion about that? Thank you.
Yeah, you mean whether or not the abuse is happening in palm oil? Is that what you're asking?
Well, indirectly, yes, and most importantly, what's your take on that? Yeah.
See, well, I think, I mean, let's face the fact, you know, when we look at the past incidences reported in the papers, you know, companies in the manufacturing, companies in electronics or glove or palm oil plantations, they all had these issues. It was highlighted. I mean, the two main players in the, you know, in the industry also has, you know, they got sanctions imposed on them. That shows that it is happening there. So it is not something new. I believe, you know, it is quite rampant out there. It's just that the focus has been on the bigger boys and not the smaller boys as yet. Perhaps time will catch up with them. So I think it is happening, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and just following up to that, especially like you see currently the palm oil industry is moving towards attaining certified and sustainable palm oil for the produce to be exported into the EU market. So do you think, you know, in your opinion, that it would have a adverse impact on our export market?
Yeah. Anybody from the palm oil here, Garija, you know anyone, or maybe yourself since you were from there before? Anyone else could answer this?
Garija or any of the colleagues would like to?
Yeah, I mean, those of you who are from palm oil, I mean, if you ask me, my broad answer would be yes, it will affect us because, I mean, see, whether it's palm oil, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's glove, you know, EU as a block of companies, they will say that, you're again, these cowboys, you know, these Malaysian cowboys, again, you know, yesterday was electronics, today is, let's say, glove and all that, tomorrow is something else. I mean, as a company, as a country, we are affected because, you know, they will say that if this is a practice in this industry, there could be a possibility the same practice is happening in other industries. So I think the perception that we may have created, you know, need to be managed. Anybody from the palm oil side or plantation, if you can comment or share your views. But my broad answer, Lakshmi, if no one answers, is I think yes, it will affect Malaysia as a company in total. Alex already says the palm oil, you know, I think we have heard news about palm oil being blocked by EU because of sustainability issues, and I think probably on, you know, could be this as well. But I think, yeah, I think it will affect us, or it is already affecting us today. Nothing magical about it. It is already happening.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, so thanks, Andy. I'll also share this share the slides in the forum. Yep. Okay. Yep. So, Julia, over to you.
Yeah.
Got to pay me overtime today. Yeah. At the rate of 1.5.
Someone raised the hand, but I guess we are slightly running over time, and unless you would insist to take.
I mean, maybe one last one since he raised Robert. Yeah, quick one. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, Robert, you got your chance.
Yeah, Julia.
Thank you, Arul, and thank you, Julia. Now, I've been involved in the plantation audits for several countries, many years. To answer the earlier question, that time will catch up with us because of supply chain requirements. although the EU is actually hammering us very badly on deforestation, but then because of this, what call it, the snowball impact, the employment will comes in very shortly because we're looking at the entire supply chain. If a big boy is actually supplying to the EU, like for example, we have a colleague here from Bunge, Kai Xiang, they're looking into all these intermediary supply chain. At the end of the day, the smaller boys will be impacted because of the do not have ethical recruitment or have this TIP and all these things. This will be a snowball effect eventually. And there must be a plan to mitigate such issues over time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think, yeah, you're right. Eventually we'll catch up. I mean, you know, in 2009, 2010, the electronics industry in Malaysia were the first one to be hit with this recruitment fee. And then I remember when I was there at the time, there were discussions like, hey, why only electronics? And then also the MNCs, and what about the other players? And today, 10 years or 12 years later, you know, things are happening at the, you know, glove, palm oil. You never know what is next. So things will come.
Okay, I think we slightly ran over time, but still
Sure.
good timing, and we made you speak almost straight for 3 whole hours, Mr.
No
Arul.
worries. You pay me overtime at the rate of 1.5 as per labor rate.
I want to say a word of appreciation to you and all our participants today. We had over 150, slightly less at the moment. Thank you, everyone who found time to join. And we also hope to see you at the subsequent sessions, not only to join, but also to comment and share your experiences. There were many messages in the chat, besides questions, also your comments, and we've been going over through this, and I think they will be kept in the recording as well. Just a few words. So the recording, as someone asked here and mentioned, I think at the hall, the recording, we won't be doing Facebook Live for these sessions. That's why we're asking you to register. So please do register for the next ones to participate in Zoom. But we have a YouTube channel where we already started uploading the previous session, if I'm not mistaken, has been uploaded already, so we will be definitely uploading this one, and we'll be sharing the link with you. Also here earlier in the chat, Alia shared the link for a follow-up survey, if you could kindly fill it up, and also a form for expressing interest for the next trainings. Speaking of the next trainings, if I may just quickly show you what we are. Just let me share my screen. So tomorrow there will be another session, 30th of November. Okay, can you see my screen? Yeah. Yes. No? Yes. So
Yes.
tomorrow there will be a session on ATIPSOM, a National Action Plan on Trafficking in Persons. So we'll have, in fact, speakers from MOHR, Edmund Boone, which some of you are familiar with him, and from the previous project and from his wider activity in Malaysia, and also, of course, MAPO. Please do register via the link provided. We sent it to your emails, but if your emails, for some reason, it's not functioning, please do let us know. Also, there will be 2 more sessions that I wanted to quickly announce. There will be one session by IOM on the 2nd December, but unfortunately, we don't have poster prepared yet. You'll be able to register for it as well. And on 3rd December, the next day, there will be a session conducted by ILO. So for all of them, you can register via the links provided. If you haven't received emails yet for tomorrow or for the 3rd of December, do let us know. For the 3rd of December, I think it will be coming slightly later, but for tomorrow, it should have been on your email by now. So that will be all from me. I think, Savita, am I forgetting anything?
No, this is it. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you again, Mr. Arul, for this wonderful and very enlightening session today. So we will be sharing the video so that more people could benefit. And we hope to see you at our subsequent trainings. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.